This is the Kospet M3 Tank Ultra watch, smartwatch. And you might be wondering, why is this being featured on a mountain biking channel or a cycling channel in general? This is actually a decent competitor coming from like an Apple Watch or a Garmin watch. And there's one reason why, and you're gonna have to stay tuned because I'll get to that here in just a minute. Now, this is supposed to be like a mil-spec watch. It is supposed to be incredibly durable, incredibly waterproof. It's got a bunch of military certifications. And well, while I'm not really gonna be able to test those very much, I am gonna be able to talk about how this watch is on a day-to-day use and for using, for biking and stuff like that. So let's get into it. I guess we could try to drop it. Still good. All right, so let's talk about the specs of this thing real quick. It is a stainless steel unibody construction with Corning Gorilla Glass on the screen. And what's nice is it actually did come with a screen protector right in the box. I thought that was kind of nice. As I mentioned before, it's got 15 mil-spec certifications. I mean, it's been pretty reliable. I haven't had any issues. It's got built-in compass, barometric altimeter, stuff like that. But what's interesting is it does have 170 plus sport modes, and not a single one of them is an e-bike one. Kind of surprised, to be honest with you. There's just a huge amount of sport modes in this thing, from running, gaming, esports gaming. It's ridiculous. It is actually dive proof, supposedly. It is water resistant up to, what was the number here? Well, I forget, but it is actually dive proof, and it actually goes up to 5 ATM, so 5 atmospheric pressure, IP69K water resistance. It's actually a pretty heavy watch compared to what I'm used to. Normally, my daily driver is a Garmin Forerunner 265, which I like because it's a lighter watch. This one is quite a bit heavier, but I will say this, I didn't actually notice it as much. I thought I was going to notice the weight a lot more. That could be the fact that the band is actually quite nice, quite soft as well. It just, yeah, no issues here as far as fit goes and comfort. It was a pretty comfortable watch to wear. So one standout feature is going to be the screen. It is a 1.96 inch HD AMOLED with always on display. And it is really nice and bright. If you can see, I got a little fun background going on right now. Let's see, here we go. Got a nice little fun background that I chose just to kind of switch it up a little bit. In the box, it does come with a charger. Now, because this is a watch, you do kind of have a proprietary charger to go with this. At least it is magnetic. It only does work one way. You just got to line it up and it snaps right on. It's kind of a nice charger. You know, it gets the job done, and you don't actually have to use it that often because the battery life on this thing is probably one of the best I've ever used. And that's saying something because I use a Garmin watch and this thing lasts a week. This lasted longer. I don't know how, but it did. Maybe this thing is just nothing but battery inside. Kospet's claims about battery life on this thing are pretty wild. In standby mode, they are claiming 50 plus days. And for typical usage, they're saying 12 to 15 days. That's pretty substantial. Now, if you do use the always on display, it is going to significantly reduce that. They're saying like 3 to 5 days if you use that. And for continuous exercise with GPS, they're claiming 30 to 35 hours. That in itself is crazy. And it's actually not far off from that. I have actually used this on quite a few rides, and it just sips battery. It's ridiculous how big the battery must be in this thing. Now I'm gonna hop into the app here to kind of go over some of the nice stuff that's in the app. Inside the app here, we do have, you know, your standard metrics and stuff, your health, your distance, calories, step goal for the day, sleep data, heart rate, blood pressure. Yeah, it was interesting that this can actually read blood pressure, and I don't know if it's accurate, to be honest with you. I wouldn't know if I trust it that much because it's not an actual blood pressure machine. But here we can see some of my outdoor records. No. As you can see here, it does actually give you a lot of information on the stats page here. You can see the map, you can see your distance, your calories burned, duration, come over to details, a little bit more information, you know, all the stuff you kind of expect to see in something like this. Heart rate, pace. Now, I don't have any sensors hooked up to this watch. And that is one thing to note about this watch, though, is the fact that, as far as I'm aware, you cannot hook any sensors up to this. And that's a bit of a bummer. So it's just kind of like an Apple Watch where if you wanted to use a power meter or something like that, it's not going to work. This is only going to be really good for tracking your rides with just the standard data. So like your heart rate, your speed, altitude, kind of stuff like that. The app itself is actually pretty good. You can change quite a few of the settings in here. It does have smart recognition, so if you forget to start your watch while you're riding, it will recognize that you're riding and suggest that you start it. Now, funny enough, I have actually had quite a few false positives with this. I've been driving and having it pop like, hey, are you exercising and doing a cycling right now? No, I'm driving right now. Like, my heart rate should be super low. I hope. I mean, it's stressful driving nowadays. The whole interface is kind of similar to an Apple Watch here. So, you know, you got, if you swipe up, you've got all your information here. This is what I was saying, like it looks very Apple-esque, where it kind of still brings in those rings, kind of like how Apple Health does. So look, yeah, here, so look at all these sports here. This is just ridiculous. Fitness gaming, rowing machine, dance, cat yoga pose. There's a bunch of yoga poses in here. Parallel bars, P90X, weightlifting. It's ridiculous how many are in here. I don't think we need all that, to be honest with you, but I guess it is nice to have, depending if you're going to use that. So, all in all, the battery life on this thing is just ridiculous. I think that's its standout feature, hands down. The GPS is accurate. I haven't had any issues with it. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for an inexpensive smartwatch, this thing comes in at, what, like 150 bucks? Yeah, it comes in at 150 bucks. That's significantly cheaper than a lot of the Garmin watches, a lot of the Apple watches, and you know, it's something that I would kind of consider at that price point. Well, if you have any questions about this thing, let me know down in the comments below. I'll see what I can do to answer them. Otherwise, this is MTBI Dad sign off. I'll see you next time.